Welcome to Short Times, where we bring you a quick and concise rundown of some of the most iconic films in the industry. Today we're diving into the 2002 science fiction thriller, Minority Report, directed by Steven Spielberg and starring Tom Cruise. Get ready for a mind-bending journey with Minority Report in just a few minutes. In the year 2054, the United States is facing a severe crime problem, with murder rates at an all-time high. In response, the Metropolitan Police Department of Washington, D.C. has established a new task force called Precrime, aimed at proactively stopping murders before they can occur. The key to this new approach is the use of Precogs, 3 individuals who have been genetically altered to possess the ability to see into the future. When the Precogs sense that a murder is about to take place, an automated system is activated to process 2 painted wooden balls. One ball bears the name of the perpetrator, and the other bears the name of the victim. Each ball is unique in its shape and grain pattern, making the system completely tamper-proof. The color of the ball indicates the nature of the crime. A brown ball denotes a premeditated murder, which can be predicted up to 4 days in advance, while a red ball indicates a crime of passion, which can often only be seen an hour or less before it is committed. The Precogs can provide the names of the victim and perpetrator, the date and time of the crime, and a detailed sequence of events leading up to the crime, but they are unable to predict the location of the crime. As a result, the Precrime Task Force, led by John Anderton, must engage in a meticulous process called scrubbing to analyze the Precogs' visions and locate clues that will lead them to the crime scene. Once the location has been determined, the team flies out in a special aircraft to prevent the crime from taking place. They then secure the perpetrator by using a device called haloing, which renders the suspect completely incapacitated. The movie Minority Report begins with Anderton's team being alerted to a red ball case, indicating a crime of passion. The Precogs have predicted that a man named Howard Marks, in his 40 seconds, is going to murder his wife Sarah and her lover Donald Dubin within 24 minutes, after catching them in bed together. Anderton and his team quickly begin analyzing the Precogs' visions in order to locate the crime scene and prevent the murder from occurring. As Anderton is working on the case, he is also dealing with the arrival of Danny Witwer, a Justice Department official who has been sent to evaluate the pre-crime system before a congressional vote on whether or not to implement it nationwide. Anderton's colleague Fletcher explains the system to Witwer as Anderton continues to analyze the visions. Eventually, Anderton is able to narrow down the location of the crime, and he joins a team of pre-crime officers to stop the murder. With only seconds to spare, Anderton and his team find the residence and prevent Howard from committing the murder. Howard is identified through an iris scan and is immediately arrested and haloed. His wife and her lover are given counseling by a trauma response unit. After the suspect has been apprehended, the pre-crime team notices that the murder reappears on the displays back at headquarters. Witwer sees these and questions one of the technicians about this, and is informed that sometimes after a crime that has been stopped, the Precogs have these echo images pass through their minds before they are deleted from the system. That evening, Anderton reflects on home movies of his ex-wife Laura and their missing 6-year-old son, who disappeared several years before at a public swimming pool. It is also revealed that Anderton has an addiction to an illegal inhaled hallucinogen called Neuroin. The next morning, Witwer's official tour of the pre-crime headquarters begins. Throughout the tour, Witwer raises concerns about the ethics of the Precogs. Anderton and his colleagues explain that the system is designed to be practically foolproof due to the nature of premeditation and the fact that the Precogs see what the killer will do, not what they intend to do, which eliminates false alarms caused by people who contemplate murder, but will never actually go through with it. At Witwer's insistence, Anderton takes him into the chamber in which the Precogs are kept semi-conscious in a pool of fluid similar to amniotic fluid and are wired to the pre-crime computer system. Though he is somewhat impressed by what he has seen, and even with the absence of murders in D.C. since the program started, Witwer remains convinced that the program is not flawless. After Witwer has gone, the Precog Agatha snaps fully awake, and images of a woman being murdered play across the chamber's video screen. Anderton is curious about these images, so he goes down to containment, where numerous other haloed pre-crime assailants are kept. With the aid of a supervisor named Giddy, Anderton finds the assailant, who was an Agatha's previs, though he is classified as a John Doe due to him having swapped out his eyes for someone else's to fool the identification sensors. Gideon attempts to pull up more information on the case, but finds that Agatha's previs is missing, as well as any information about the supposed victim named Anne Lively. The only information the computer has on her is that she was a single mother and a Neuroin addict, but records indicate she went to a rehabilitation clinic to treat her addiction. Anderton reports his findings to Precrime director Lamar Burgess, who suggests that he let the matter drop and focus on making sure that Precrime is protected from larger interests when it goes nationwide. Anderton returns to his office and is alerted to a premeditated murder that is to take place in 36 hours. The victim has already been identified as Leo Crow, but the perpetrator's identity is still a mystery. As Anderton begins to review the information, he is shocked to discover that he is the perpetrator. Anderton attempts to leave the building before this revelation reaches his colleagues, but encounters Witwer in the elevator, leading John to believe that Witwer is setting him up. An alarm sounds and Anderton rushes from the elevator and out of the building. Anderton is soon found by pre-crime officers, but manages to escape. He is then found by Witwer and some officers, and the chase leads the group into an automated auto assembly plant. Anderton survives and escapes in a newly built car. He goes to the residence of Dr. Iris Heinemann, whose research laid the foundation for the pre-crime program. Heinemann explains that the three precogs do not always agree on their visions of the future, and when this happens, the one that deviates the most from the others is typically ignored. To clear his name, Anderton must determine if he has a minority report that will prove his innocence. Heinemann tells him that the most talented of the three precogs, Agatha, is most likely to have a minority report. Since everyone is subjected to iris scans everywhere they go, Anderton undergoes an eye transplant at the hands of a shady doctor. The doctor is actually one of John's past cases whom he had arrested for performing questionable surgery, but the doctor performs the procedure anyway, leaving John alone to recover. While recovering after the surgery, Anderton dreams about the day his son was abducted from a swimming pool and awakens to find the pre-crime team searching the building for him. Small robotic eye scanners known as spiders are sent into the rooms. One of them finds Anderton and scans his iris, but the surgery has succeeded and he is not recognized. Returning to the pre-crime offices in disguise, Anderton removes Agatha from the precogs chamber, disrupting the trio's hive mind that makes the system work. He takes her to a hacker friend, who successfully extracts her vision of Crow's murder for Anderton to see. However, the vision does not deviate from what he saw previously, and Anderton realizes that he doesn't have a minority report. Suddenly, Agatha begins to have a seizure, and the image of Anne Lively being drowned is seen again. As Anderton watches the vision, his friend alerts him to pre-crime officers in their vicinity. Agatha and Anderton narrowly escape Anderton's team by making use of strategic information provided by Agatha, who is able to predict the immediate future. Anderton tracks down Crow's address and gains entry to his apartment. Crow is not present, but he finds a pile of photographs of children, including his missing son. Anderton realizes that there is no minority report in his case, and he is now going to kill Crow, whom he now blames for the kidnapping. When Crow enters, Anderton assaults him to extract a confession as Agatha pleads with Anderton not to commit this murder. Anderton is blind to her pleas and is intending to kill Crow until the timer on his watch goes off, the time when the murder is supposed to take place. Anderton relents and begins to read Crow his Miranda rights. Crow reveals that the photographs are doctored and were given to him to leave in the apartment in order to set up this very confrontation. His family has been promised a cash payoff only if Anderton kills him. To force this outcome, Crow grabs Anderton's gun hand, aims the weapon at himself, and pulls the trigger. After Anderton and Agatha flee, Witwer and the pre-crime team arrive to investigate the crime scene. Witwer is skeptical about the orgy of evidence that was left behind and later discusses his misgivings with Burgess, bringing up the Lively case as well. He now has all three precogs records of that murder, but slight differences between them lead him to deduce what really happened that day. Witwer shows Burgess the provisions from containment, but then reveals Agatha's, which was not on file. Agatha's vision shows a very big difference, leading Witwer to postulate that the crime against Anne Lively took place at two different times. When Burgess questions Witwer, The young man posits his theory, and Lively's potential killer was arrested based on the matching visions of Arthur and Dashiell. But after Precrime had taken the man away, a second person arrived and killed her in exactly the same manner. The similarity of the incidents would simply lead the precog text to assume the act Agatha witnessed was an echo vision, and therefore disregarded. Witwer suggests that only a member of Precrime could have the skill to manipulate the system in this way, whereupon Burgess, revealing himself as the true architect of John's framing, shoots and kills Witwer, knowing that the other precogs are unable to foresee this murder with Agatha gone. Shortly after the murder, Lara calls Burgess to tell him that John and Agatha are staying with her. As she relaxes in the calm surroundings of Lara's home, Agatha shares with John and Lara a vision of what might have been had their son lived. During this time, John has been thinking about Anne Lively and deduces that she is Agatha's mother. However, Precrime soon swarms the house, and John is haloed and Agatha is returned to the precog's chamber. Burgess later meets with Lara to comfort her, before he is to attend a ceremony in anticipation of the nationwide Precrime rollout. During this time, Lara brings up Anne Lively's case and Burgess, realizing that she knows the truth, kills her as well. Realizing that Burgess is lying to him, Anderton rushes back to the Precog headquarters and demands that Gideon release him from containment. Once he is free, Anderton confronts Burgess, revealing that he has figured out his scheme. Agatha, one of the three Precogs, was the most powerful, and her abilities were crucial to the success of the Precrime program. However, her mother, Anne Lively, had overcome her addiction to a drug called Neuroin and wanted her daughter back. Knowing that losing Agatha would weaken the program, Burgess orchestrated a murder that would appear to be a vision of Agatha's mother's death. He disguised himself to look like the suspect and killed Anne Lively, making it appear that Agatha's vision was simply an echo, and not a true prediction. This allowed the vision to be deleted, and Anne Lively's death was never solved. As Burgess and Anderton continue their conversation, the Precogs detect another murder with Anderton as the victim and Burgess as the perpetrator. Burgess, realizing that Anderton must be nearby, searches for him with an antique revolver given to him as a gift. When they finally come face to face, Anderton points out that Burgess is caught in a catch-22. If he kills Anderton, he will prove the effectiveness of the Precrime program but will be sentenced to life in prison. If he doesn't shoot, the program will be discredited. Burgess chooses a third option: he kills himself. With the Precrime program having been exposed as flawed and subject to manipulation, it is quickly shut down. All the criminals who were imprisoned under the program are granted immediate pardons and are released from prison, though many of them are still closely monitored by local police departments for years. Anderton reconciles with his wife Lara, who is now pregnant with their second child, and the Precogs are relocated to an undisclosed location where they can live in peace. That's it for our quick rundown of Minority Report. This film raises thought-provoking questions about free will and the role of government, while also delivering non-stop action and plot twists. With a talented cast and visually stunning effects, it's no wonder that Minority Report is considered one of the best science fiction films of the 2010s. If you haven't seen it, we highly recommend giving it a watch. Thanks for tuning into Short Times. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more quick and concise movie recaps.